Good. Okay, our first piece of business is on page 17. And it is, I'm sorry, it's approval of fiscal contracts. And I believe we have Ms. Laura Raleigh from the Department of Aging with us.
Here I am. Can you hear me?
Yep, and I can see you now. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
So we are requesting the approval of a contract with Almost Just Like Home Incorporated, doing business as Mayfield House, to provide assisted living care for eligible county residents age 62 and older. A contract will commence on September 21st, continue through June 30th of 2021, and will renew automatically for 5 additional one-year periods. This is a state-funded program where we subsidize the person's monthly fee to the rate of at least $650 a month. And we're just adding them to the list of already existing people that we have contracts with.
Very good. Do any of the members have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilman, is that Marks? Okay.
Yes, hi. Ms. Riley, can you talk about your event with Mr. Charisma tomorrow?
It's actually on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yes, it is the second No Senior Eats Alone Day event. Last year, you may recall, we did that with great fanfare and had a wonderful response. We're doing it virtually this year. So people can come online and take part in some educational events and also some entertainment in the afternoon. And we do have many restaurants in the community that are offering discounts to older adults so that they can pick up a meal and share with a friend, socially distanced, of course.
And we'll get the chance to meet Mr. Charisma, right?
Virtually, yes, you will meet Mr. Charisma online. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
That's actually very nice. I participated last year at the Fullerton Overley Senior Center, and took a resident of the community, and he really enjoyed himself. He, I'm going to say Frank is 92 years old. He thought he was a little bit too young to be there, and let me know he had busy things to get to that day, so he couldn't hang around for dessert. So there you go. There's our seniors. They're busy.
They're there.
And,
Yes.
and they're active. Does anybody else have anything out for Ms. Raleigh? Okay, thank you, Ms. Raleigh. Stay safe.
Thank you.
The next piece of business is on page 9 and then page 13. Both are contracts, and we have Mr. Tom Kiefer with us, the acting director for the Department of Public Service.
Hello, can you hear me?
We sure can.
All right, great. Thank you.
Got curlers in your hair or something? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No, that would be in the singular, ma'am.
Curler, I gotcha.
Not enough of it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 2 contracts tonight. Good evening or afternoon. The first one, do you have is the Heritage Crystal Clean?
That's the second one, but either one.
The second one, okay. Then the Safety Tank of Maryland, the administration is requesting approval of a contract with Safety Tank of Maryland for the removal and processing of compressed cylinders and tanks from the county solid waste facilities, including the Central Acceptance Facility, Eastern Sanitary Landfill, and the Western Acceptance Facility. And the contract commenced September of 2019 and continues through the end of this month and may not exceed $25,000. If approved, the contract, though, would continue through August 31st of 2021 with renewals automatically for 3 additional one-year periods with the option to extend the additional term for an additional 120 days if necessary. The contract may not exceed a maximum compensation of $160,000 for the entire 5-year, 4-month term, including all the extensions and renewals. This contract is used for picking up and cylinders that can't go into the landfill, the gas cylinders and things like that. And so it's a kind of a necessary function of our solid waste disposal process.
Tom, when you talk about like cylinders and tanks, are you talking like propane tanks and that sort of stuff?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So, I mean, there's various types of compressed gases and so forth that there was a regulatory change with MDE that made that not able to be disposed of the way we did in the past. And so they're now removed as scrap metal.
Okay. Do any of the members have any questions or comments on this contract from Mr. Kiefer? Okay, if you'd like to go to this second contract on page 13. Heritage Crystal Clean.
Yes, so the administration is requesting approval of a contract with Heritage Crystal Clean to provide collection, removal, and recycling services for waste oils, which include transmission oil and hydraulic fluids, antifreeze, and also used oil filters from county-owned facilities. And this includes our residential drop-off centers, our maintenance facilities for both equipment and for vehicles. And the contract commences upon council approval, will continue for a year, and has 4 additional one-year renewal period options to extend the initial term for 120 days if needed. The contract does not specify a maximum compensation for the initial year term or for the entire 5-year and 4-month term, including renewals. Compensation, though, may not exceed the amount appropriated for these services for the entire contract term. And they're estimated at approximately $13,500 for the first year and $74,600 for the entire 5-year, 4-month term.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the members? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Kiefer.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
Third piece of business is on page 14. Is this correct, Mr. Boswick? Am I handling the public hearing now, resolution 96-20?
That's what I had suggested, but we do have 2 speakers for that. If you want to move it, back a little bit, certainly that's your option, Madam Chair. There are a few other things.
Right. Can we save it to the end?
Sure.
Because we don't have much of an agenda here. So
Right.
if speakers don't mind holding on for just a few minutes, we'd appreciate it, and we'll get through the rest of the business. Is that okay with everybody? Okay. Next, we're going to go to miscellaneous business. The first item is on page 26, and it is resolution 91-20. And I believe we have Pete Gutwell with us, Director of Department of Planning.
Good afternoon. Can you see me and hear me?
We can see you and hear you.
All right. Is it all right, Madam Chair, if I do 91, 92, and 93 together, since they all interrelated, if that's okay?
I see no problem with that, and they can still ask questions afterwards.
Thank you very much. Okay, so resolution 91, 92, and 93 are modifications of resolutions that were passed earlier by this council in January 20. Resolutions 91 and 92-20 modify the pilot and the home investment partnership program loan, or otherwise known as the federal home funds. As you're aware, Lion Homes Preservation is rehabilitating homes in Turner Station, approximately about 126 with lines 2 and 3, a total of 244 units with lines 1, 2, and 3. The modifications include changes to the number of units from 36 units to 30 units for the pilot and home funds in resolutions 91-20 and 92-20 respectively. Resolution 93-20 modifies the number of units from 90 to 81 units for just the pilot. None of the other terms of the agreement have been changed other than the number of units. These modifications were necessary to accommodate current residents with incomes over the 60% threshold to avoid any displacement of the current residents that are living there during the renovations and rehabilitation of these units. Do you want me to go into the auditor's questions at this point in time, or?
Yeah, why don't we cover those real quick?
Okay, and the question was, in what situations is the county willing to consider a loan pilot modifications? If they're going to modify any part of the agreement, we will take that into consideration, whether it's size, scale, or scope of the project. We have a standardized approach considering granting such modifications. No, it's all, like I said, it's a case-by-case situation, so there's no real standardized approach to this. It depends upon what it is that they're going to do. The next question was, to the scale and scope of the services of the affordable units that they're going to provide. Does the consider scaling back county assistance for instances in which projects are modified to reduce the number of affordable units? Yes, we do consider that. We would consider that for any county assistance, particularly in opportunity areas. However, in this instance, it was a small number of units. The terms of the agreement still held for the number of units. It's important to note this is a $26 million investment in which the county is only participating in the pilot program, while everything else is financed through either federal, state, or private financing that for this development. So the only county participation is in the pilot, in the payment of lieu taxes. So I hope for any other questions, I'm available.
Did that satisfy your question? I guess so. Are there any members that have any other questions or comments relating to 91, 92, or 9320?
Madam Chair, I do.
Yes, Councilman.
I just want to, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank Mr. Gutwald and his staff for their continued effort. I know the residents of Lyon Homes appreciate this. And if the council remembers when we looked at this issue before, the units that are being improved at Lyon Homes, these units are, many of them are for seniors, and low-income seniors especially. And the complex is quite old, and a lot of the units had no modernization, hardly at all. Bathtubs, no showers, no air conditioning, no washer dryer hookups. Just sort of a complex lost in time or left in time. So I think this is an example of a pilot program that is really helping people out and improving the property value of that particular property that the county will eventually see in its coffers. So thank you, Mr. Gutwald, for your efforts on this. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else for those three?
Madam Chair, I don't have a comment on the three items, but I would like to wish Mr. Gutwald a happy birthday today.
I was gonna do that, Stacy.
Oh, you were going to do it? I'm sorry. We did it earlier in senior staff, and I thought it's just so kind. He's here working just as hard, and we're just so thankful for all that he does. He's a great team player.
Thank you.
Happy birthday again, Pete.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Pete.
Yeah, Dr. Branch sang to him. Dr. Branch has a wonderful
Yes, he
voice.
did.
Well, we can do that too. We can do that too. I won't, but. Okay, Pete, you want to move on to page 36, resolution 94-20.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 9420 requests the approval for the sale of development rights pursuant to the Maryland Agricultural Land Preservation Foundation for fiscal year 2021 easement cycle. The Department of Planning and the Baltimore County Agricultural Land Preservation Advisory Board recommended and ranked 15 properties totaling approximately 1,047 acres and 24 associated development rights. The advisory board reviewed each property and determined the priority ranking based on factors such as contribution to the agricultural economy, land quality, soils, number of development rights, and acres of contiguous protected ground. Did you want me to go through the list of properties, or is that sufficient?
No, since it's only 15 of them, would you mind so everybody knows which district they're in? If you have that available.
Sure, I got it right here. So this is in alphabetical order, not in priority ranking. It is Brian and Joanna Winkler Alexander. That's 25.11 acres. Lennis Barney, 99.78 acres. Morris and Sharon Bolair.
Doesn't tell us where they're located though, right?
No, just other than they're in districts 2 and 3.
Oh, just 2 and 3?
There's 2 and 3. Shocking.
Never mind. Pete. Put your
Never
notes
mind. Okay.
Shocking.
That's good enough for me, Madam Chair.
Mostly 3.
I vote
Mostly
no.
3. Who's voting no?
I mean, it's par for the course.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's par for the course. I've been
well,
here 10 years.
we're the environmentally concerned district, so what do you expect?
Kathy Bevins and I have an awful lot of that land. It's par for the course.
You do not have the land in my district.
Pete, keep up the great work.
Yeah, thank you, Pete.
Don't forget, we are
Thank
getting
you
more money
very
through,
much.
there'll be more in the rural legacy money for everybody.
I don't think we
I'll
need to
believe it
read
when I
them
see it.
anymore. We're happy.
Alexa, play again. Hold on, Pete.
You want me to list them out or are you done?
Listen, Pete. Hold on.
We have enough information, Pete.
Oh,
Yeah, but they has been, she's just been sending them. Right, but you can put them, if you want to put it in a folder for everything.
I can't hear it. Councilwoman.
It's always- Just put it in a folder. I mean, blue folder. Because then we end up putting them in. But this is the bigger thing. Answer requests, technologies, Logic Ventures, home.
Stacy, you need to mute.
Hey, Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Here. I'm sorry, what were you saying, David? I'm sorry.
I do think it is a fair point to make
What's that?
that the Erdl,
Mhm.
there's land outside the Erdl in many districts. Councilwoman Bevins, I know you and I have talked about this a lot for 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's all.
You know, I have any thoughts on the hurdle. Okay, is that it? Mr. Gutwall, enjoy your birthday.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next item is on page 22. And we have Amy Grassi with us. And it's not your birthday, right, Amy?
Heavens no.
Okay, all right, because I was ready to play my Alexa again, but okay.
Oh, no. That's for another day, but I appreciate the thought.
It's nice outside in the sunshine. Getting some fresh.
Well, inside is too loud.
Because you got.
My husband has his own Zoom calls and my children are doing homework and
Yeah.
it's and we're trying to get dinner because we've got soccer.
Okay, well, you go ahead.
So the administration is requesting approval of a feasibility period agreement with Trade Point Atlantic LLC that we all know as TPA to explore a potential transfer of approximately 22 acres of land from TPA to the county for the proposed development of a county recreational site in Sparrows Point. The agreement commences upon a council approval and continues for a year and may be extended for an additional 6 months. The agreement does not include any compensation terms, but specifies tasks that each of the parties must complete during this feasibility period as conditions precedent to the transfer of the property. The acquisition contract itself will be subject to a separate council approved contract and will have additional due diligence terms and conditions included as our normal contract for acquisition does. The county specified tasks include engineering, architectural and design services, and some environmental work, which has included subsurface exploration, geotechnical analysis, and review of environmental assessments.
Thank you, Ms. Grassi. Are there any questions? I'm assuming if any, be from Councilman Crandall.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Ms. Rossi, thank you. I'm excited because this is the first step into making this arrangement with TPA, making it real. And I know the community is really excited about the potential future of this site, a community center for the North Point Peninsula, as well as very much needed field space are all being discussed. So, and I know that it's taken a while to get here, so I just want to thank everybody you and your office and your efforts, the administration's efforts, you and the administration have been committed to making this done, to get done. And I'm appreciative of the investment in our district. And I think TPA should be credited as well for sticking it out. And this is a lot more complex than I think was envisioned from the beginning. And which is why I think that this arrangement is a little bit different. This is the first time that I can recall the council being asked to approve a feasibility agreement. So I just want to be clear on a couple things.
I'm not the one that has to eat, you are.
Thanks, Madam Chair. So the phase 2 environmental study that is necessary before the county can move towards the acquisition of the property, that study is to be paid for by Trade Point Atlantic. That's correct?
Yes, Councilman, that's correct.
Okay. Now, and part of the agreement is that because Trade Point is paying for the study, should the study come back clean, then, well, if it doesn't come back clean, TPA would be responsible for the remediation. Is that correct as well?
Sir, it depends. For the most part, that is true. They have clarified that point a bit in their revisions to my original draft, pointing out that there's a distinction between pre-development remediation and remediation that occurs as part of the development process. For example, capping that can be completed through paving of a parking lot or something of that nature. So where the actual development itself would constitute the required remediation effort, then that is not something that would be on TPA shoulders.
And part of the agreement as well is that should the phase 2 study come back clean, the county can't back out because of environmental reasons. So this kind of solidifies the county in the deal, or?
Well, it can. We would have to reimburse TPA for the cost of the phase 2, but there are still circumstances under which this parcel wasn't going to work for any number of reasons not related to the phase 2 assessment coming back with an issue that would we would still be able to move on to a different parcel.
Thank you for that. And then I guess my final question, we have a fiscal note of an estimate on this of about 1.17 million. I see from the fiscal note what's driving those costs. I guess the confusing part to me is the description. I'm hoping you could define it for us. The description in the fiscal note goes for some of the estimated costs to be environmental work, including subsurface exploration, geotechnical analysis, and environmental review and permitting. I guess I understand the environmental review and permitting because that's going to have to be done based on what the findings are in the study and what the county finds out in their due diligence aspect of the agreement. But is subsurface exploration and geotechnical analysis what are those things? Because
soil borings to determine the suitability of the underlying land for construction to carry loads and whatnot, water tanks.
Okay, so those things, those items would not be assessed in the phase 2 environmental study then?
No, the phase 2 is looking for contaminants. The geotechnical borings are engineering factors that determine the ability of the earth to support the loads. They're kind of different.
We don't want a community center that sinks into the marsh. So
precisely.
I got it. Okay.
Yep.
Well, thank you again for your efforts and for your information.
Sure. No problem.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome. Any other questions for Ms. Grassi? All right, off to dinner and soccer. You can-
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilman.
Yeah, very, Amy, or Todd, was this a Superfund site?
They have a voluntary cleanup agreement that they've
So-
negotiated with MDE and EPA. In fact, and there was a voluntary cleanup agreement in place under the previous owners as well.
So it's not a Superfund site?
It's a brownfield. I believe.
Okay,
I don't,
okay.
And
Okay.
Wade, Councilman Tatch, if you remember, when Trade Point took over the site, they had an agreement, I believe, with MDE and EPA to commit initially, at least, and I think they've gone way above this number. They had to commit $48 million just to get approved to acquire the property. That was my understanding. Probably 6-7 years ago now, maybe even more than that. So.
and I think if anyone's interested, the voluntary cleanup agreement, I believe, is a public document that's posted by MDE. It's rather thick and technical, but Councilman Crandall's correct that they negotiated it at the very inception of their efforts on the site.
So there is federal money in the cleanup and state money as well?
I believe so.
Okay. And the reason I ask, because I have Superfund sites in my district.
Yes, you
but
do.
Yeah, I know. And I'm not going to get into it, but it's a bit frightening to think that, anyhow, hopefully, obviously, everything will be cleaned up before it's going to be used for recreation so I'll just stop there. But it sounds as though you're being very careful, which I'm very happy about. And because this is something you don't cut corners. You do not cut any corners. You do what needs to be done. It should be done right. So, okay, thank you.
Councilman, I agree with you. And one of the reasons this site was chosen is for the for environmental studies to come back in a positive way, because steelmaking never occurred at this site. So that's not to say that Bethlehem Steel, somewhere in their 100+ year long history, didn't dump something on this site. But this site was actually set aside by Bethlehem Steel years ago for wetlands conservation and land preservation, and was never, as far as I know, never used for an industrial purpose. So that was one of the reasons that this site was chosen. In my conversations with TPA, they indicate through their own in-house environmental executive that the site should come back clean, but the ground can hold many things that we're not aware of. So.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Off the soccer you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Be safe.
You too. Next, we move on to page 5. And we have a contract with, I guess this is going to be Mr. Benjamin. Is this going to be Mr. Benjamin?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the council. The administration is requesting approval of a contract with the law firm of Gordon Feinblatt LLC to provide legal services with respect to environmental issues at the Trade Point Atlantic site that the county is considering for acquisition. And in fact, Ms. Grassi just spoke on this. The contract will commence on September 16th, 2020 and continues through June 30th, 2021, but may not exceed $25,000 unless approved by the council. If approved, the contract will renew automatically for one additional 1-year period with the option to extend the initial term or renewal term an additional 90 days. The contract does not specify a maximum compensation for the initial approximate 9-month term. compensation may not exceed $150,000 for the entire approximate 2-year term, including the renewal and extension periods. In a matter of full disclosure and transparency, before I became a county attorney, I was a partner at Gordon Feinblatt. I handled litigation and minority business issues. I was not a part of the environmental or the real estate groups at Gordon Feinblatt. One of my deputy county attorneys, Sue Dubin, was former of counsel at Gordon Feinblatt, and she left in 2010. Gordon Feinblatt is uniquely qualified to handle this project. They regularly advise on complex technical issues involving hazardous waste, water pollution, solid waste, radiation control, and other environmental and regulatory issues. So that perspective will be of a great benefit to the county. The county does not have sufficient in-house resources to handle this matter. The Office of Law therefore believes the county's best interest will be served in bringing in a law firm with adequate resources and experience to handle this matter. The firm has offered a 10% discount off the hourly rates normally charged by the firm for the attorneys who will be assigned to represent this matter. And these fees are comparable to or less than the fees paid by the Office of Law for other outside legal services obtained in recent years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. Are there any questions or comments?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilman Marks.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Benjamin, I apologize I did not raise this before, but when I was looking over the notes, so this starts tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, it would start tomorrow, but the amount of services would not exceed 25,000.
I guess the question is, well, couldn't we just wait till Monday when we formally approve this?
That wouldn't be an issue, Councilman.
I just, and it's, you know, I apologize I did not bring up earlier, but I know we talked a lot about this, you know, this retroactive approval, and I don't want to hold up anything, but I just noticed that. My colleagues disagree, you know, that I understand that, but, you know, the charter does say, I think that, you know, we're supposed to really be approving.
Yeah, I think that we would be able to have it commence on after the approval. That wouldn't be an issue, sir.
Okay, I mean, it's only three business days, so, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Councilman Crandall.
thank you. I just wanted to let Mr. Benjamin and the administration know that we appreciate their commitment to the land donation project at Trade Point. And as I said before, it's fairly complex, but 22 acres of new parkland in the district, in my estimation, is worth the investment. Thanks to all involved so far.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Mr. Benjamin, I guess you're on the next one too. And that's on page 2.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon again, Madam Chair, members of the council. The administration is requesting approval of a contract with Robbins Geller, Rudman and Dowd LLP to represent the county in a lawsuit against several e-cigarette manufacturers. The contract commences upon council approval and continues through completion of litigation. The contractor will advance all fees and expenses necessary to prosecute the case. Costs and expenses will be paid only out of recovery, that is a judgment or a settlement, to 25% of any recovery net of costs and expenses. This agreement has no fiscal impact to the county unless a favorable judgment is rendered on behalf of the county. Let me just say that Robbins Geller, this law firm, Robbins Geller, Rudman and Dowd, is recognized as one of the most formidable consumer action law firms in the country. They specialize in the complex litigation, including consumer protection. We've been advised that Montgomery County, Howard County, Frederick County, Garrett County, and Anne Arundel counties, as well as several other counties in other states, are utilizing Roberts Geller in similar litigation. We believe that this will result in a stronger and more cohesive case. This type of litigation is both labor intensive and complex, and the county does not have sufficient in-house expertise to prosecute such litigation effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Benjamin. Are there any questions regarding this contract? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, Mr. Benjamin.
Thank you.
Appreciate all your work.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next item is on page 43, and it is resolution 95-20. Councilman Crandall?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This resolution would establish the first step in the possible creation of a Recreation and Parks Foundation for Baltimore County. And the vision for this is a foundation that would operate very much like the Police Foundation, the Library Foundation, and the Education Foundation. I think that the timing is rather good for this because we have large corporations moving into Baltimore County with philanthropic line items in their budgets that we could take advantage of. And to be frank about it, the revenue projections for Baltimore County over the next year or two, if not longer, are kind of startlingly stark. So I think to be able to supplement our Rec and Parks budget and to supplement the finances of our rec councils and maybe other organizations like athletic booster clubs, that a foundation would just make sense. So this would be a first step. I want to thank Kimmy Routson and Director Johnson for what I thought was a productive conversation regarding a first step. And through that conversation, it became evident to me that the approach, the idea, it seems like everybody's on board with and thinks it's definitely worth pursuing. But maybe the first step outlined in the resolution is not the most efficient first step. So in that conversation, I learned that Director Johnson has relevant experience in helping to set up a foundation in one of her former lives before she came to Baltimore County. So I'm going to amend the resolution to charge the director and the law office, and I know Mr. Benjamin just loves more work, that charges them with making a recommendation to the council and therefore the Board of Rec and Parks to provide us a recommendation on how to proceed, whether that's a work group that is originally proposed in the draft that you have today, or perhaps even legislation that the council should consider in order to make such a foundation happen. I just think this is a logical approach. It leverages Director Johnson's experience, and it would just make a work group that much more efficient. And that work group will be made up of volunteers that wouldn't be paid. So I think it's a better use of their time to have some of the logistics and legalities handled in-house before we move forward with creating a group that might not be as informed on certain aspects of creating a foundation and how that foundation would work with Baltimore County Rec and Parks in a legal, transparent, and ethical way. So again, thank the director and the county executive's office for their input on this, and I'm hoping to have our colleagues report. I think that support. I think this is an opportunity to create something meaningful and lasting that we can all be proud of long after we're out of office. So again, ask for your support and looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Councilman Crandall, I had a little bit of background noise, so I don't know if I heard you correctly. Did you say they were paid volunteers?
No, you did hear me incorrectly. No, I said the volunteers on that in a work group that the draft that you have before you, they would be volunteers. So, and just I do have something else to share actually, and that just the impact that recreation and parks, and a lot of you might know this, but maybe some of the folks listening don't, but I asked for some data a while ago, and I have some fiscal year 2018 data just for Region 4, which comprises a little bit of the 6th District and all of the 7th. So attendance at rec and parks activities as well as park attendance in 2018 was estimated to be 3,475,962 participants, or those in attendance. Registration in 304 programs. This is just one region out of 4, not including our ag centers or the sailing center, I believe. So registration, 24,391 participants in 304 programs in just one region. 3,935 volunteers that contributed in one fiscal year 198,404 hours. So the impact of on our citizens of rec and parks and how it helps create a better quality of life in Baltimore County, I think is evident enough just in that data. And again, I don't think it's anything that you all dismiss or don't know already, but it's just, I thought it would be good to share those data just so we can put the perspective that for an agency that is per capita the most underfunded rec and parks department in the state per capita, that supplementing with corporate philanthropy makes sense. Madam Chair, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Councilman Crandall? Okay, hearing none, we will move to, I think we're going to go to the public hearing now. Resolution 96-20, it's on page 44. Who's going to speak on this?
I think I am, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry, Terry Hickey. I'm so sorry. I was looking at my wrong notes.
No problem. I was waiting for you. So good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the council. My name is Terry Hickey. I'm the Deputy Director for Housing and Community Development at HHS. In addition to my role at HHS, I have since March served as the chair of the County Executive's Individual and Family Benefits Work Group, which is charged with overseeing residents and access to critical economic benefits and support during the pandemic. And one of the biggest areas that we've worked on has been eviction prevention and housing stability in general. So I'm happy to be here tonight to request this council resolution endorsing a planned grant application to the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development for up to $3 million in funding to provide eviction prevention rental assistance payments to households that have been impacted by the pandemic. And I'd also like to thank the council for agreeing to allow this work session to double as the required public hearing and a vehicle for public comment, which is a requirement and puts us in good stead to get this submitted by October 2nd. A little bit of background. As you may be aware, the county launched its first phase of eviction prevention in early June. To date, we've assisted almost 500 households for a total of $1.2 million that's paid out to landlords to date. Phase 2 is going to kick off in early October with an additional $2 million in the county's CDBG COVID funds that are being subgranted to 6 nonprofits and 1 county agency. I think you've all heard the numbers related to the 467% increase in SNAP applications from Baltimore County, the 100,000 residents laid off. This application process for eviction prevention, again, 1,500 applications in a 4-day time frame, requesting over $3.5 million in assistance. 85% of all the applicants noted minor children in the household. So we're looking ahead. We've been working with BC Stat to model potential numbers, and we have a lot of data holes to fill in, but initial predictions could be as much as 24,000 eviction filings per month when the moratorium expires, at least for the first few months following. Ultimately, this could lead to as many as 8,000 families at risk of losing housing in Baltimore County. We don't know of that group how many actually will, but everything we can do with the time we've been given thanks to the CDC moratorium and other effects we need to take advantage of to try to get money out to landlords, get tenants up to date, and keep them out of court. So today I'm here to ask the council for the resolution in support of this application. We plan to ask the state for up to $3 million in assistance. It'll be layered into our existing eviction prevention efforts. I just want to note for the council and the public that the funds awarded through this RFP can only be used for up to 6 months of rental assistance, not utilities or other expenses. To qualify, applicants will need to demonstrate income below 80% of area median income. They'll have to have a current lease in their name and a statement from their landlord certifying the amount due. And of course, like similar programs, they'll have to demonstrate a loss of income related to COVID. We know these issues are going to continue to grow. We're looking to gather as many resources as we can. 3 million isn't nearly enough, but if we can get this back here in Baltimore County, I think we can help a lot of households. So I will leave it there in case there's questions, and thank you again for your time.
My note on that, my announcement that that was a public hearing. Is there anything that I needed to say or can say afterwards that Mr. Hickey hasn't already said? I apologize.
Madam Chair, you were muted for a moment. Can you say that again?
Yes, I'm sorry. I forgot to announce it was a public hearing and I didn't have my note on it. Was what Mr. Hickey said sufficient, or do I need to say something? Have a note. If you have the note, maybe you can read it.
Yes, ma'am.
Did I need to read something before he started?
Not before he started, but in order to convene the public hearing, Madam Chair, and I'd be happy to assist with that.
Please assist me.
Okay. The council's consideration of resolution 9620 also requires the convening of a public hearing, which will now come to order. The council is holding this hearing pursuant to the requirements of the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development and as part of the county's application for the grant funding under the Maryland Community Development Block Grant Program. The purpose of the hearing is to provide the opportunity for public comment on the application. Anyone wishing to speak should have registered on the council's website prior to the hearing, and each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. And you can take it from there. I think, Madam Chair, I think Ms. Belcastro may have some speakers in the waiting.
Thank you, Mr. Boswick. I just wanted to make sure that that was done correctly.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Belcastro, I believe we have 2 speakers signed up.
Yes, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, our first speaker who registered to speak today, Janet Jones, I cannot find her on our attendee list. I have reached out to her via email and have not gotten a response. For those who are on the meeting, as a reminder, if you plan to testify, you cannot call in by a phone. You have to join the WebEx event via a smartphone, iPad, computer. If Ms. Jones is on and she is on by phone, please reach out to me via email and I may be able to find you since we don't have a lot of attendees today. So I'm going to go with our second speaker who signed up today, and that would be Scott Gottbritt. Mr. Gottbritt?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You may begin your testimony.
Great, thank you. My name is Scott Gottbritt. I work with United Way of Central Maryland. I've been asked by our CEO, Franklin Baker, to step in and provide some testimony today and voice our support for this resolution. I wanted to provide at least a couple of data points and then some additional perspective. We run the 211 of Maryland call center. That is functionally the 911 for social services and field thousands of calls a year, more than 100,000 calls a year by folks throughout the region. In the past 2 months, housing has ticked up to our #1 call, representing 40% of all calls made to 211 in Baltimore County. Last week, we received 172 calls for housing assistance out of 458. And the week before that, the ratio was similar, 177 calls out of 453. And the week before that, 157 out of 414. That's more than twice the number of calls we receive right now for healthcare or COVID-specific related needs, and more than the number of calls we receive for healthcare and food assistance combined. So housing is definitely the most pressing need right now, and that's why our United Way is sort of trying to help folks and community service organizations react like a school of fish to what is now the biggest thing going on. So to reiterate, 40% of our calls right now are folks in Baltimore County are folks in need of housing assistance. I do want to note an area of concern, which is that one of the gaps we've seen in efforts for eviction prevention has been related to the way that the funds are sort of earmarked for people who need to show that they've lost income as a result of the COVID crisis. And what that has done for a lot of our clients is folks who were seeking work before the crisis happened, or who were out of the workforce, or, you know, we got a call from one woman who was in the process of giving birth and had stopped working temporarily. Then COVID happened and she was unable to find work. So a donut hole in some of these programs has been people that were struggling before COVID happened and have difficulty providing documentation to prove they were impacted by COVID from a workforce perspective. That's one thing I just want to make sure that folks are aware of and that we should try to think about. Another thing we're hearing from a lot of our community partners is that many of the CARES related or CDBG or other big funds of government assistance for eviction prevention that are being provided and subgranted to community partners don't come with admin or indirect costs, which makes it really hard for either smaller nonprofits or even the big nonprofits to move a lot of this money or keep up with what's being asked of them, because it's a lot of work to field applications from, and Mr. Hickey's office has been doing a great job. But you know, the 500 households, if you think about that, that's probably 1,000 applications, 500 that ended up being actually eligible to receive the assistance. And that's a lot of overhead and staff time and hard work. And I hope that as part of these ongoing conversations, there can be talk about how some of the indirect costs or admin that goes along with these big funds, these big pots of money can be allotted to help nonprofits keep up with what's being asked of them. Because right now they're being asked to take on work without being, you know, compensated for the staff time that's required to implement that vision. I know it's not allowed in some of the CDBG funding streams, but there are other ways to supplement that and to talk about sort of combined pots of money to give to nonprofits. I think I'm nearing the end of my time, but I just want to say that I also think that case management has a place in this conversation. A lot of people are going to keep coming back to the well again and again, unless someone can help them develop a game plan for self-sufficiency. And so that's another thing that we want to make sure that people have an eye on as the conversation is developed. Not every household is built the same. And so some households need a little bit of an extra touch. And so case management, we think, has a definite place in some of these conversations going forward. And that's all for me. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I do have a question, and I don't know if it's best answered by Mr. Guprack or Mr. Hickey. I had talked to some landlords of, large, 400 or more units, 100 or more units, complexes. When COVID was in a good, probably solid 8-10 weeks, and they were saying that 25% of their tenants were not paying their rent. And they were really upset by that. And because they said that these were folks that were working, I'm going to call them the working poor, lower income, maybe a mom with 2 children making $12 an hour, receiving some child support and maybe some food stamps, really, takes everything to make ends meet. But he said a lot of his folks were now getting the unemployment. They were getting the $600 on top of the unemployment. So they were making more being laid off than what they were working and not paying their rent. And it was very, very frustrating for these landlords who could not evict under any circumstances. So I guess my question is, these are not the people that can come back to this well. Is that correct? I mean, if you are receiving, say, $400 or $300 in unemployment, I think now it's $300. So if you're getting $600 a week and you normally only make $450 a week, you should be paying your rent, right? Because you have more income than what you had before. So would you be entitled to this type of program?
So let me answer that question technically first. There is nothing that prohibits someone who received funding in the county's phase 1, which was CARES Act and some EAFC money. There's nothing technically that prohibits them from doing that. The goal was to get out ahead to hopefully take a chunk and then keep people current. It's been a very interesting dynamic with the moratorium prohibiting the natural flow of eviction orders. What I think I want to point out to the council and those listening is the CDC directive creates a new, very interesting and unusual field for the next few months where landlords will be able to seek eviction orders in court, but they won't be executable until January. So we think it really changes the dynamic if the county is working with nonprofit providers and the courts and legal services to actually address those real eviction orders before they're executed. We think that it's going to be more precise because you're right. There's a lot of human behavior that goes into this equation.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that was just a question that had been asked of me, and there's hardship on so many levels, and of course, I get it that families are not meeting their needs and are at risk for eviction, and then we also have the business part of it, they have bills as well, and they have 25% of their population not paying the rent. So there's just no win-win here for anybody, but I'm thankful for the program, and I just wanted a little bit of clarity on that. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Hickey?
Madam Chair?
Before we close? Yes, Mr. Patoka.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hickey. Good presentation. Just want to share with my colleagues that I have somewhat of a companion bill that was introduced at our last legislative session, which puts restrictions on, it provides some tenant protections during a state of emergency, COVID-19, or periods when the unemployment rate is extraordinarily high for a sustained period of months. And it would restrict landlords from raising rents during these types of emergencies. So that's something that'll be discussed at our next work session, but I just wanted to share with my colleagues that that's something in the works that seems somewhat of a companion to what's being discussed by Mr. Hickey.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else for Mr. Hickey? Okay, thank you, Mr. Hickey. Thanks for all your work.
Thank you all.
Okay, that's the last item on the agenda. So I think we can close this meeting unless somebody has an objection.
No, Madam Chair, and just to note, Ms. Jones reached out to me via email and was unable to log on. She's not on by phone, but I did explain to her that she can most certainly send in her written testimony by email before September 21st.
Thank you, Ms. Belcastro. I appreciate that. Okay, everybody, stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.